Well, it's still getting messier and messier in the It Ends With Us feud between co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaint, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint.
Have you ever wondered what it's like when Hollywood's glitz and glamour collide with lawsuits and scandal? Well, buckle up because the drama between Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni is turning into one of the messiest sagas we've seen in years. This isn't just a behind-the-scenes spat. It's a full-blown war. Accusations, manipulative tactics, and alleged power plays are spilling out faster than anyone can keep up. And trust us, the tea is piping hot.
Poll, and so they are behind the scenes, not just lobbying. Allegedly, Jenny Slate, also Liz Plank, they are literally looking for any individual that will jump on board and solidify her statements that Justin Baldoni is a creep, and they are routinely and continually coming up dry because that's what happens when you lie.
It all kicked off when Blake Lively decided to file a formal complaint, and let us tell you, that move sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Almost immediately, Liz Plank, a high-profile figure who was connected to the project, resigned in what many interpreted as a public act of solidarity with Lively. But here's where it gets really juicy. Plank's resignation wasn't just about support. According to some insiders, Ryan Reynolds allegedly played a key role in orchestrating this move, employing what's been described as a psychological strategy. That involves charming people into his corner, only to isolate those he perceives as threats. People are calling it a classic manipulation tactic. And guess who was the target of all this? None other than Justin Baldoni.
You're not kidding when you say this is getting messier. The author of that book deleting her Instagram account, another who plays Baldoni's sister in the film, being harassed online.
Now, let's talk about Blake Lively for a second. For years, she's been seen as the golden girl of Hollywood, polished, poised, and, let's be honest, absolutely stunning. But as soon as this lawsuit hit the headlines, people started digging deeper into her past. And what they found wasn't exactly flattering. Old videos began resurfacing, including one where Lively candidly talked about how she likes to take control of projects, even when she's technically just supposed to act in them. She described her approach as being a Trojan horse, coming in quietly only to seize creative authority once she's already in the room. It's bold, sure, but it's also rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, especially now that Justin Baldoni's legal team is accusing her of trying to hijack the entire production of It Ends With Us.
And one of the most significant allegations in Baldoni's lawsuit is that Lively sought to gain control over the editing process of the film. This is important.
And if you thought that was the end of it, think again. Enter Candace Owens, who has made it her mission to blow the lid off this whole situation. According to Owens, there's much more going on behind closed doors than anyone initially realized. She's claimed that Ryan Reynolds has been exercising what she describes as excessive control over Lively, implying that he's been the one calling the shots in this legal battle from the very beginning. Owens didn't hold back either. She shared alleged evidence, including messages, videos, and insider accounts that paint a picture of a couple desperately trying to control the narrative. And let's not forget, Owens also pointed out how Lively's legal team has been targeting insiders who've dared to speak out against them. If true, this is a level of damage control that borders on paranoia.
We can now all agree that the moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
But here's where things get even darker. In an effort to stop Justin Baldoni from releasing what he claims are damning text messages between him and Lively, she's reportedly tripled down on her request for a gag order. Think about that for a second. If she has nothing to hide, why go to such extremes to keep this information from coming out? That's the question everyone is asking. What's actually in those text messages that's got Blake and Ryan so rattled?
Creepy Baldoni. Getting close to her, obviously making small chatter not in character so as not to make the scene, which didn't require dialogue, awkward.
Meanwhile, Liz Plank's decision to publicly side with Lively is also being called into question. A TikToker named Steve with the Deets did some digging and suggested that Plank's motivations might not be as pure as they seem. According to Steve, Plank may have been lured into Lively's camp using Reynolds' signature charm offensive. The theory goes that Reynolds and Lively strategically targeted Plank to further isolate Baldoni, who is already under immense pressure. It's the kind of behind-the-scenes maneuvering that feels straight out of a Hollywood thriller.
Liz Plank was out, instantly said she quit, a show of support and solidarity with Blake after everything dropped, and people began looking into it.
And speaking of Hollywood insiders, Ari Emanuel, one of the most powerful agents in the business, has reportedly thrown his support behind Lively and Reynolds. But here's the thing. People are starting to question why someone as influential as Emanuel would get involved in such a messy situation. Is he genuinely convinced of Lively and Reynolds' innocence? Or is there something else going on? After all, this is Hollywood, where alliances are often based on power and money rather than principles.
I heard on very good authority that the same was done to Liz Plank, okay? So they primed her, got her as an expert of bromance. Sorry, serious expert of bromances, put her on the show. She's a perfect candidate, she's a feminist. And then they tried to pull the Me Too button. She instantly took their side, jumped off of the podcast with him, made a statement.
As the layers of this scandal continue to peel back, more and more people are coming forward with their own stories about Blake Lively. And let's just say, the picture they're painting isn't exactly flattering. For instance, during the press tour for It Ends With Us, Lively faced backlash for promoting her lifestyle brand in a way that many felt was tone-deaf, given the film's subject matter. But it doesn't stop there. A resurfaced video for an older interview shows Lively and actress Parker Posey allegedly mistreating a journalist during a press junket. The journalist later claimed that the interaction was so demoralizing it made her want to quit the industry altogether. Yikes.
To it. And I think, the whole Hollywood glam, it's so glamorous and everything. Can you relate to the things they were saying about Hollywood? It's so easy to get seduced by the fame and the money and the glamour.
Oh, you see it all the time. That was one of my favorite things about the movie, were the subtle turns to their own transition into like the ego.
To add fuel to the fire, Lively's past behavior on other sets is also being scrutinized. Multiple insiders have come forward to describe her as difficult to work with, citing examples from her time on Gossip Girl and even her collaboration with Anna Kendrick on A Simple Favor. And let's not forget the infamous story about Lively allegedly clashing with Leighton Meester on the set of Gossip Girl. While these anecdotes don't necessarily prove anything about the current lawsuit, they're certainly making people look at Lively in a new light. And then there's Justin Baldoni, who's fighting his own battle to clear his name. His legal team has been incredibly vocal, releasing text messages and video footage that they claim support his side of the story. One particularly controversial piece of evidence is a video of Lively talking at a Forbes Women's Summit, where she openly discussed her habit of taking control of projects. Baldoni's team is using this as proof that Lively's behavior on the set of It Ends With Us was part of a larger pattern. But here's the kicker. Lively's team argues that the video is being taken out of context and that it has nothing to do with the allegations she's made against Baldoni.
Literally, I'm just asking the question, like, how are women allowed to do this, to take something and to make it sound like you survived, because that's what it sounded like to the public.
So where does this leave us? On one hand, you have Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, who are pulling out all the stops to protect their reputations. On the other hand, you have Justin Baldoni, who's determined to prove that he's the real victim in all of this. And somewhere in the middle are the fans and the media, trying to sift through the chaos to figure out what's really going on. As the legal battle rages on, one thing is clear. This isn't just a fight over money or creative differences. It's a fight for control. Control over the narrative, control over the narrative, control over the public's perception, and ultimately, control over their careers. And with every new piece of evidence that comes to light, the stakes only get higher. But don't go anywhere, because this story is far from over. In fact, things are just starting to heat up. What secrets are still lurking in those unreleased text messages? And how much longer can Blake and Ryan keep up this battle before it starts to take a toll on their carefully curated image?
Now, I will say, it is also interesting that the defendants in this answer also admit that they sent text messages. I mean, when Lively produced copies of these text messages that she got through a subpoena, there's really nowhere else to go on that. You got to admit that you sent these, but it doesn't mean that Baldoni and the other defendants will agree to the context or the characterization that was laid out by Blake Lively, for instance.
Now, if you thought the first chapter of this Hollywood saga was dramatic, hold on to your seats, because what comes next takes the chaos to a whole new level. The deeper you go into the Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni feud, the more it feels like a crazy Hollywood movie. Except this is real life, and the fallout is anything but scripted.
And we're now all paying attention. So I'm just going to very quickly, before I give you all of the tea that I got over the weekend, I'm going to go over the biggest revelations from the filing.
Let's start with the bombshells dropped by Candace Owens. She's been holding nothing back and has become one of the loudest voices exposing the alleged dark underbelly of this drama. Owens claims that Ryan Reynolds' so-called puppet master behavior has been a ticking time bomb in this entire ordeal. According to her, Reynolds isn't just standing in the background quietly supporting his wife. He's actively pulling the strings. Some insiders even suggest that Reynolds has been orchestrating Lively's legal strategy, media statements, and, allegedly, their attempts to silence dissenters. Owens, never one to mince words, called it a PR chess game gone way too far. And she's not wrong. This level of control feels more like a power grab than a defense. Could it be that Reynolds' involvement is actually making things worse for Blake? That's exactly what Owen and others are beginning to question.
Yes, this is exactly what I want, a puppy to kick in the mouth. and you'll do what I say. So I'm going to show you these exchanges. This is Ryan Reynolds.
And then there's the letter of support written by Blake's longtime friends and co-stars from the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Let's be honest, this letter was clearly designed to sway public opinion. America Ferrera, Amber Tamblyn, and Alexis Bledel came together to describe Blake as brave, supportive, and someone who's been fighting for safe spaces for women in the industry. On paper, it sounds noble, but not everyone is buying it. Critics were quick to point out that the timing of this letter felt a little too convenient. Some even speculated that Blake's team may have pushed for the letter to counter the growing backlash against her. It's no secret that public perception is everything in Hollywood, so it's hard not to wonder if this was more about damage control than genuine friendship. And speaking of controlling narratives, let's talk about the alleged website takedown. According to reports, Blake and Ryan's legal team made moves to shut down a website that was on the verge of releasing text messages and video evidence tied to this entire controversy. Now, this is where things start to look even murkier. If the evidence was false, why not let it come out and debunk it publicly? Instead, going after the website has only fueled speculation that there's something to hide. People are asking, what's in those texts and videos that's so damning? Is it more proof of Lively's so-called manipulative behavior? Or could it be something that paints Reynolds in a negative light? Whatever it is, the couple's aggressive legal strategy is raising more questions than it's answering.
They say Friedman may even be violating the New York rules of professional conduct for lawyers by doing all this. Quote, his conduct threatens to and will materially prejudice both the Lively case and the Wayfarer case by tainting the jury pool because his statements are deliberately aimed at undermining the character, credibility, and reputation of numerous relevant parties.
Meanwhile, let's not forget about Andy Signore's take on all of this. The Popcorn Planet host has been breaking down every twist and turn, and he's not holding back in his analysis. Signore highlighted how Blake's promotional efforts for It Ends With Us backfired spectacularly. During the press tour, she tied the movie, one that deals with incredibly sensitive themes, to her lifestyle brand. Let's just say that naming a drink after a problematic character wasn't the best look. It came across as tone deaf, and fans were quick to call her out. And then there's the resurfaced clip of her and Parker Posey allegedly mistreating a journalist during an old press junket. Moments like these are piling up, making it harder and harder for Blake to shake off allegations of being, well, a bit of a Hollywood diva. Now, let's pivot to the man at the center of this storm, Justin Baldoni. He's been fighting tooth and nail to clear his name, and his legal team has been relentless in presenting their side of the story. One of the most talked about pieces of evidence is the now infamous video of Blake speaking at a Forbes Women's Summit. In the clip, she openly admits to taking control of projects in ways that some might find questionable. Baldoni's team has latched onto this as proof that Blake's behavior on the set of It Ends With Us wasn't a one-off but part of a larger pattern. But Blake's team has fired back, claiming the video is irrelevant and being taken out of context. It's a classic he said, she said scenario, and the public is left trying to figure out who to believe.
For most of his career, he has been a major proponent of feminism, of healthy masculinity. How does it feel for him, though?
And just when you think it couldn't get any messier, Baldoni's legal team decided to release raw footage from the set of It Ends With Us. The footage, which was supposed to clear Baldoni's name, has only added fuel to the fire. In one scene, Baldoni and Lively are filming a slow dance montage. Baldoni's team insists the footage shows nothing inappropriate and proves their client was professional at all times. But Blake's team sees it differently. They claim the video actually corroborates her allegations, pointing to moments where Baldoni allegedly crosses boundaries. It's a perfect example of how both sides are spinning the same evidence to fit their narratives.
Shutting down a woman's claims.
She is claiming that there was harassment. He's saying none of it is true, never happened, never did.
And let's not ignore the broader implications of this fight. Blake and Ryan's legal team recently subpoenaed phone records, internet logs, and even location data from Baldoni and his associates. They're looking for what they call receipts to prove there was a deliberate campaign to ruin Blake's reputation. Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, has slammed this as nothing more than a fishing expedition. He argues that Blake and Ryan are desperately searching for anything that could validate their claims. And honestly, it's hard not to see this as an act of desperation. If they were confident in their case, would they really need to dig this deep? But let's zoom out for a second. This isn't just about three celebrities fighting it out in court. The stakes here are huge, both financially and reputationally. Baldoni has already claimed that this legal battle has cost him jobs and tarnished his career. Meanwhile, Blake and Ryan are risking their carefully crafted public image. For years, they've been seen as Hollywood's golden couple. Funny, down to earth, and totally in love. But now that image is starting to crack. People are questioning whether their charm is just a facade, hiding a much darker reality.
But yeah, it's just getting super nasty, and it seems like he's not cowering to this attempted gag order.
Yeah, I don't really understand Blake Lively.
And then there's the industry fallout. More and more insiders are coming forward, sharing stories that paint a less than flattering picture of Blake. Former co-stars like Anna Kendrick and Leighton Meester have allegedly had their own issues with her. Even Armie Hammer, who was once slated for a storyline with Blake on Gossip Girl, reportedly couldn't work with her and had to cut his arc short. It's stories like these that are making people question whether the allegations against Blake have some truth to them. At the same time, Baldoni isn't exactly free from scrutiny. Some critics argue that his legal team's decision to share certain evidence with the media feels like a calculated PR movie. And while Baldoni has positioned himself as the victim of a smear campaign, others see him as someone who's just as eager to control the narrative. It's a messy situation with no clear heroes or villains. As the legal battle drags on, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. This isn't just about who's right or wrong. It's about who can win in the court of public opinion. Blake and Ryan are fighting to protect their image as Hollywood royalty, while Baldoni is trying to salvage his career and reputation. And in the process, the lines between truth and fiction are getting blurrier by the day.
But this is such a interpretation of perspective, because I watched the footage, and I'm sure we all have, and it's...
So, what's next? Will Blake and Ryan finally release the evidence they claim will vindicate them, or will Baldoni's team continue to dominate the narrative with their own receipts? And more importantly, how long can anyone involved keep up this exhausting legal and PR battle before the cracks start to show? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. Stay tuned, because we're just getting started. As the drama between Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Justin Baldoni continues to unfold, it's clear that this Hollywood feud is far from over. The questions remain: do you think Blake and Ryan are truly the victims in this situation? Or is there more to the story than meets the eye? And how much longer can Justin Baldoni hold out against the power couple's relentless legal tactics? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know where you stand on this messy saga. Until next time, stay tuned for more celebrity gossip and drama.